Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Have we ever been so excited to see a new year as we are at seeing 2021 and at leaving 2020 behind us? Amen.
Amen.
It's January. Do you know where the word January comes from? The month January is named after a Roman god, Janus, who was a two-faced god. So if you know of any two-faced people, being two-faced is nothing new. Janus was a two-faced god. And so Janus, with his two faces, had one face that faced backward and one face that faced forward. And isn't that what we're about at the end of a year, the beginning of a new year? We take a look back at the year that's behind us. We celebrate all that we did in that year, the joys, and we remember the challenges and how we've grown, but also we look forward to the new year. Amen. This solemnity of the Epiphany challenges us to look back, but also to look forward. We start by looking back. The word epiphany is a Greek word. To have an epiphany, it's to have one of those moments when the light bulb goes off. Have you had moments like that? Where suddenly, whoa, something made sense. In the scriptures, we speak of 3 epiphanies, 3 times when the light bulb went off in incredible ways where people recognized Christ for who he was. And the first of those epiphanies is in today's gospel. In today's gospel, the Magi, who were Gentiles, they were non-believers, they were non-Jews. But when they saw that child, the light bulb went off. And they recognized something special about that kid. They recognized, they didn't use these words, but they likely recognized that Jesus was Emmanuel, God with us. That Jesus was the Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed One. Their eyes were opened and they could see. There's something really beautiful about the Epiphany happening not to the religious leaders of Jesus' day, but to Gentiles, to non-Jews. That God isn't just the God of the Jews or of one certain people. God is a God of all people. Amen. God is a God of all people, of Jews and of Gentiles, of all people. Which is why I love the fact that in Mexico, we see 3 wise men, 3 magi. We know that the Bible doesn't say that there were 3 of them. But in the imagination, in Mexico, they imagine these 3 magi arriving on 3 different animals and being of 3 different races. Think about this for a moment. One is arriving from Europe on a horse. One is arriving from Asia on a camel, and the other is arriving from Africa on an elephant. What a beautiful way to tell this story. That it's not just 3 guys coming from the same place to recognize Jesus, but 3 people coming from different places, who are of different races and backgrounds and languages. And when they come, they all have that epiphany, that light bulb moment of recognizing Christ. That's looking back. What about looking forward? Are we able to recognize the presence of Christ today? Because this story is not just a story of something that took place 2,000 years ago. It's a story that challenges us here today to recognize the presence of God in our lives today. Even during a dark year where 350 40,000 Americans lost their lives to coronavirus. It's a challenge for us to somehow open our eyes and recognize God working in our lives and in the lives of those around us, even during difficult times. To recognize how God writes straight with crooked lines. To recognize how it is that God is hidden in the events of our lives and in the lives of those around us. It's not always easy to see Christ in others. Amen? Which is why I love the symbol that we often see in Mexico on this day of the Rosca de Reyes, the king cake. Because it looks like a regular ring-shaped bread, but there's something special about this bread. And what makes this bread so special? Because baked inside it is a figure of the Christ child. It becomes a game. Who will find the Christ child in his or her piece of the bread, right? Brothers and sisters, this is no game. Who will recognize the presence of Christ hidden in the dough of the lives around you this week? Will you simply see the Rosca de Reyes of their lives? Or will you recognize there's something special inside them? That all of them, even those we love a little less, all of them have the presence of Christ within them. Brothers and sisters, I suspect that our great challenge during this celebration is not just looking back 2,000 years ago and celebrating some guys who arrived from different places who recognized Christ, but it's challenging ourselves to open our eyes, to open our ears, to open our hearts to recognize the presence of Christ today. For those of us who remember our time at Cristo Rey Catholic Church in East Austin, Sister Guadalupe was one of my successors in youth ministry there. And Sister Guadalupe loved singing a song with the young people there that had to do with opening eyes and ears and hearts to God. Shall we sing it together? As we challenge ourselves to open our eyes and our hearts and our ears. Open my eyes, Lord. Help me to see your face. Open my eyes, Lord. Help me to see. Open my ears, Lord. Help me to hear your voice. Open my ears, Lord. Help me to hear. Open my heart, Lord. Help me to love like you. Open my heart, Lord. Help me to love. The beginning of January is a natural time for us to make resolutions. Let's resolve this year to focus less on the past, to leave the past in the past, amen, and to look toward the future, opening our eyes and our ears and our heart to the presence of God in our world and in the lives of those around us.